This couple is the absolute sweetest and honestly probably my favorite on the list. But first up is Lily Allen and David Harbour. The two got together in September 2019, or at least that's when they went public with their relationship. Although the couple had planned to date for a while, it was Lily's kids that helped him make the decision to put a ring on her finger. While David was riding bikes with Lily and her kids, he said that her youngest daughter kept calling him dad, and the eldest one got upset, saying that he isn't their dad. When the younger asked if David was their stepfather, the eldest again said no, quote, "He's just some guy in our lives." Harbour describes it as a wake-up call for him. Quote, "I was like, I need to marry this girl." And marry her he did. Although they had planned a wedding a little bit differently, due to the stay-at-home orders and such, the affair was much more spontaneous. While on a vacation together in Las Vegas, they tied the knot in September 2020. And although they tried to keep their union hush-hush, the news leaked basically right after they got their marriage license. They went fully classic too, with an Elvis impersonator officiating the wedding and everything. They're a very sweet couple. Next up on the list is Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner. Right after the Billboard Music Awards in May 2019, Joe and Sophie got married in a surprise Las Vegas ceremony. They applied for a marriage license earlier that day in Nevada and got the whole Las Vegas special. The ceremony took place inside a little white wedding chapel, complete with an Elvis impersonator to officiate the wedding. Diplo leaked the wedding onto his Instagram, despite them wanting to keep it extremely private, and it showed quite a few celebrities in the audience to witness the marriage. Sophie walked down the aisle in a veil and white jumpsuit. It was a very sweet moment. Although they officially got married at the chapel, the couple had another much more public and bigger wedding at a venue in France. At this much more public ceremony, there were beautiful bridesmaids photos. Sophie was wearing a much more grandiose wedding dress, and Joe was fitted to the nines in an all-black tuxedo. The wedding venue was an estate with stunning opulence everywhere. Next on the list is Nicolas Cage and his girlfriend, who's a makeup artist, Erica Kawicki. After a night of drunken partying, the couple made a very impromptu and spontaneous decision to get married in Vegas in 2019. The two had kept their relationship extremely private, so people were double surprised when the ceremony occurred seemingly out of left field. Nicolas Cage has a habit of marrying people, this being his fourth wedding. It was definitely a moment that the two would decide was not right after they sobered up. Only 4 days after their wedding, Nicolas and Erica decided to get their marriage annulled, but they didn't succeed. They would officially have to get divorced 3 months after their wedding. The wedding pictures themselves were pretty funny. They both look absolutely sloshed, with Cage wearing a gaudy zebra print jacket and Erica just looking confused as to where she is. Not surprisingly, their relationship didn't last after their annulment, and the two didn't decide to pursue anything afterward. Next up on the list is Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton. After the couple met on the set of the film Pushing Tin, they decided to get an extremely rushed wedding out of the way. They decided basically immediately after meeting one another to get married in a surprise wedding in Vegas in 2000. Billy Bob Thornton was also still with his fiancée Laura Dern at the time, who had left home to film a movie. She found out about the marriage in the press while she was away and stated that she hasn't heard from him since. Ouch. It's one thing to cheat on a partner while they're away, it's an entirely different thing to get married to someone else while you're off working. And to Laura Dern, no less. The wedding itself was very impromptu, but Angelina and Billy Bob's marriage did last for about 2 years, which is a bit longer than I think anyone suspected. The reasoning behind their divorce is actually quite sad, with Thornton never feeling like he was good enough for her. Not any fault of Jolie's own, he was just intimidated by her humanitarian accomplishments and never felt comfortable around rich and important social circles. Not desiring to change himself, he decided to end their relationship, although the two have maintained a friendship since then. Next up is Frank Sinatra and Mia Farrow. The two met on the set of a movie when he was 49 years old and she was only 19. They had a whirlwind romance and married in Las Vegas shortly after meeting one another. They decided to get married at the Sands Hotel and Casino, with Mia wearing an absolutely iconic dress while sporting her short pixie cut. That being said, there was no question that the two loved each other. They had one large issue, however. With Frank being a much more traditional person than Mia, he wanted her to settle down and become a loving housewife who was supported by her husband. Mia, however, had ambitious aspirations to be a movie star and didn't want to be stifled by her husband. He served her divorce papers while she was filming the movie Rosemary's Baby, which is a little petty in my opinion. Although they did end up getting divorced, Mia and Frank remained extremely close, with Mia referring to him as the love of her life years later. When news broke that her then husband Woody Allen had cheated on her with their stepdaughter, Frank Sinatra offered to have his legs broken. And that wasn't an empty promise either. The singer is well known for his mob ties, and his anger was a force to be reckoned with when it came to anyone messing with Mia. Next up is Demi Moore and Bruce Willis. They only dated for 3 months before deciding to tie the knot in Las Vegas in 1987 at the Golden Nugget Hotel. It was a very intimate and sweet affair. They were married for about 10 years before deciding to call it quits in 1995. They officially got divorced in 2000. And have remained extremely amicable with one another. They share 3 daughters together and spent the stay-at-home order together as a family. Although Demi has had some issues with her kids, including no contact for almost 3 years, especially during her toxic romance with Ashton Kutcher, they have since buried the hatchet and become extremely close once again. They felt shut out by their mother, who was more concerned with starting a family with Ashton, effectively pushing them aside. After realizing how horrifying it is to lose your children, Demi made amends with them. Bruce Willis cited being under a scrutinizing spotlight as being too much for them and their relationship for why they decided to get a divorce. Next up is supermodel Cindy Crawford and actor Richard Gere. They met in 1988 when she was 22 years old and he was 39 years old. They boarded a private jet to Vegas in 1991 after Cindy pressured him to get married. Quote, "I was a Midwest girl who had watched a lot of movies, and I dreamed of getting married in this big fairy tale wedding." They used tinfoil rings to exchange vows at the Little Chapel of the West. Because it was so impromptu, the ceremony was far from a big fairy tale. Cindy wore a navy Armani suit. The two would eventually divorce, with the age difference being a bit too much for them to handle, alongside not being able to spend much time together due to their extremely busy lifestyles. Next on the list is Mia Goth and Shia LaBeouf, another marriage that didn't end up working out. Am I smelling a trend in Vegas weddings here? In October 2016, Shia and Mia tied the knot in a Vegas ceremony that included an Elvis impersonator. Although Shia confirmed the marriage on an episode of The Ellen DeGeneres Show, officials from the Nevada government said that there was no marriage license on file for the couple, so they technically didn't actually get married. Despite that, in 2018 they decided to get a divorce. This relationship mishap, where they get married, or at least they have a ceremony but don't actually get the license, is very similar to our next and last couple on the list. And now lastly, we've got Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker. Just days ago, Kourtney and Travis had a beautiful and private ceremony in a Las Vegas chapel at 2 a.m. Although they didn't obtain a marriage license, they did tell the press, quote, "Practice makes perfect." The pair posted some adorable Instagram posts of their little impromptu wedding, where they sported matching sunglasses and leather jackets, looking totally in love, while an Elvis impersonator stood awkwardly in the background. There's no doubt in my mind that they'll have a much more public and grand official wedding in the future. This one was super cute, and I'm sure a much appreciated intimate affair.
In at number 10, Jessica Simpson and Tony Romo. Based on this horrendous prenup, thankfully this couple never actually got married, but the prenup was leaked to the press and the contents are insanely shocking. Dallas Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo requested to add a lifestyle clause into the prenup that would prevent Simpson from ever weighing above 135 pounds. Which is not only toxic AF, it's also a pretty impossible thing to commit to. And I guess it showed that Romo only really cared about her looks. Even worse, if she did go above this weight at any time, she would have to pay Romo $500,000 for every pound above 135 pounds that she gained. I can't even believe it's legal to include such a clause in a prenup, but hopefully after seeing this, she knew she needed to leave. In at number 9, Jennifer Aniston and Justin Theroux. Everyone hoped that Aniston would finally find love in Justin Theroux after her disastrous marriage then divorce to Brad Pitt, but unfortunately that was not the case, and this couple did eventually divorce. Since Jen Aniston has a massive fortune, mainly from her Friends days, she got an ironclad prenup to protect her assets. But it's been reported that Theroux was not happy with this prenup and pushed hard not to sign one. But since Jen's net worth is roughly $200 million versus his just $20 million, she clearly needed the protection. In the end, it was reported that Theroux took $0 of Jen's fortune. Sources say that the prenup negotiations were far from friendly, quote, because Justin hated that he was marrying someone that had a massive fortune that had to be protected. With values like that, I'm surprised that Jen even decided to marry him in general. In at number 8, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. Thankfully, this messy couple got a prenup, or their divorce would have been even more contentious. However, even with the prenup, the exes fought hard over custody of their kids. This couple met in 2004 during filming of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, while Pitt was married to Jen Aniston. At this point, it's almost a fact that they cheated while Brad was still with Jen Aniston, but the couple has only ever said they started dating in 2005 after Jennifer Aniston filed for divorce. This couple went nearly 10 years before tying the knot in 2014, and part of the union was an insane prenup, as both actors have massive fortunes. In the end, the pair split their post-marriage marriage earnings 50-50, so it's hard to say who the real winner or loser was. But since Brad worked more over that time, I would assume that he had a much larger net worth. In the prenup, it was stated that Angelina would get custody of all the kids if Brad cheated. However, both Pitt and Jolie were entitled to their fortunes before the marriage. Any money made after the marriage would be split and divided to their children in a trust. So it's nice to see that their kids were their main priority. In at number 7, Britney Spears and Kevin Federline. Spears and Federline first got together in 2004 and decided to get engaged just 3 months later. Thankfully, the rushed marriage did not stop Britney from protecting her fortune, and she demanded that Federline sign a prenup, even though he definitely did not want to. After her engagement, Britney enlisted the help of an expert legal team to draft the prenup to protect all her assets and business ventures. Britney's prenup was so extensive, it's a whopping 60 pages long. Britney does have countless businesses and ventures, so it makes sense that they had to include every one. Since Britney and K-Fed wanted the paparazzi off their back, they decided to rush the wedding so they would live in peace. The couple married in a relatively modest ceremony at a friend's house outside of LA on September 18th of 2004. But after Britney learned that Federline did not sign this prenup, she decided the union would be ceremonial and made sure it was not legal on paper. However, she made it look like the real deal to the press. A few weeks later, the couple was legally wed in a secret ceremony on October 6th, only after K-Fed had finally signed this prenup. In the prenup, it awarded K-Fed a certain amount of money for every year that they stayed married. In the end, the prenup entitled Federline to only $300,000 payout for the divorce, which is a small amount from someone as rich as Spears. In at number 6, Khloe Kardashian and Lamar Odom. Khloe and Lamar had the most insane wedding. At the time, tons of people even thought it was just a PR stunt for their show. The couple met at a party in 2009 and were basically inseparable since meeting. Sources told People at the time, quote, "They're very, very happy. They're literally inseparable. Khloe thinks he's amazing and he makes her laugh and smile constantly." Only less than a month after meeting, the pair decided to get married, with the ceremony being in that month so they could get married before Lamar's basketball season. A month later and 9 days after getting engaged, Khloe and Lamar got married in Los Angeles. And since we know that Kris Jenner would never let Khloe's fortune get stolen, Khloe and Lamar signed an extensive prenup. Khloe told E! News in 2011, quote, "Everybody needs a prenup. I mean, I don't care if you make $5 or $5 million. In this day and age, people are crazy. You never know. And when you have business together like we do, you have to protect yourself. It doesn't mean you don't love them." We don't know any of the details, but it doesn't seem like she gave Lamar any of her fortune. Halfway at number 5, Beyonce and Jay-z. This power couple first started dating when Beyonce was 19 years old and stayed together ever since. After dating for 8 years, they got married and now have a family with 3 kids. Both of these moguls had a ton of power and money before getting married, so it makes sense they would both want prenups to protect their fortunes. According to Business Insider, the couple reportedly signed a prenup that gives Beyonce $5 million for each child that they have together. That means she would receive $15 million for the 3 children they currently have. In the prenup, it also stated that Beyonce would get $10 million if the marriage ended before 2 years, and $1 million each year that they remained married, up to 15 years. Thankfully, this power couple seems committed to one another for life, so we won't be finding out more about their prenup. And at number 4, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban. This legendary couple of course has a prenup, but the contents of the prenup are some of the most shocking I have ever seen. Since Urban has struggled with addiction to substances like alcohol in the past, the prenup stated that Urban would receive $600,000 a year for every year they are together, but only if Urban refrained from using any illicit substances. Clearly, this did not always work out though. After the pair got married in June of 2006, Urban checked into rehab only months later. Urban told People magazine in 2007, quote, "Definitely we both met each other at exactly the right time. She said early on that she wanted to be brave with me. I feel there was something else to work, bringing us together, and then just continuing to watch over us." The couple are worth an estimated $205 million and seem to be incredibly happy together. And at number 3, Hugh Hefner and Crystal Harris. Hugh Hefner got married for the 3rd and last time in 2012 to Crystal Harris. The late Playboy mogul was 60 years older than Crystal, who was even younger than his kids with his first wife. And since Hefner created so many iconic brands during his life, he forced Crystal to sign an insane prenup to protect his assets. This prenup would not let her get a hold of any of his fortune or ownership of the Playboy mansion. Additionally, the prenup stated that upon divorce or Hefner's death, Harris could not continue to live in the mansion, which is pretty insane. After Hef passed away, she moved out of the mansion as stated in this prenup, and even though she didn't get any money, sources did say she was taken care of by the family. And at number 2, Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan. Mark Zuckerberg is one of the richest people in the world, so of course he made his wife Priscilla Chan sign a prenup before their marriage. Mark and Priscilla got married in 2012, and the most interesting part of the agreement is the lifestyle clauses that Priscilla put in the extensive document. Under the conditions of the prenup, Zuckerberg is obligated to take his wife out on a date every single week. Chan is also promised 100 minutes of alone time every week outside of the office or home. Since Mark is such a busy man, helming one of the biggest social media companies on earth, it makes sense that she wanted to ensure her husband would always make time for her. As of now, the couple seem very happy, so clearly something about it is working. And finally, number 1, Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas. This couple has been married for what feels like forever, so I'm sure their prenup will not be getting put to use. However, this legendary power couple did sign a prenup before getting married to protect their assets. Their prenup is another that includes a lifestyle clause. It's been reported that Douglas will have to pay Zeta-Jones if he is ever caught cheating. Additionally, Zeta-Jones earns $2.8 million annually every year that the marriage remains intact. When asked about the prenup in Vanity Fair, Zeta-Jones stated, quote, "I think prenups are brilliant. I get taken care of very well."
At number 10, Iggy Azalea and Nick Young. When you've been unfaithful to your partner, it pretty much makes you an awful person, and you're bound to get exposed for it, especially if you're a celebrity. No one really gets away with cheating, especially these days because of our presence on social media, making things difficult to hide. Back in 2016, basketball player Nick Young was exposed by one of his teammates for having cheated on his then fiancée, Iggy Azalea. D'Angelo Russell, Nick's teammate, had recorded Nick talking about how he had cheated on Iggy, and the footage was leaked to the internet. This caused Iggy to postpone their wedding, but things ultimately ended a few months later after Iggy caught Nick on her security cameras bringing in other women into their house when she wasn't there. This was the last straw for Iggy, but it also didn't help Nick's case after it was alleged that he had gotten his ex pregnant again while still in a relationship with Iggy. It certainly is a good thing that they didn't end up getting married. At number 9, Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson. At this point, knowing that Tristan Thompson is a pretty awful partner really isn't anything new. Now, I know that Khloe and Tristan aren't actually married, but they're pretty close, and I mean, we can't talk about awful partners without discussing their toxic relationship. All of their relationship drama started back in 2018, and we're still seeing the two of them making headlines together in 2021, so I mean, they're kind of perfect for this list. In April 2018, just shortly before their daughter True was born, photos of Tristan appearing to cheat were leaked, and obviously this wasn't good, but things got even worse when TMZ leaked footage from 2017, which showed Tristan allegedly kissing women at a club. Things mostly died down after their daughter was born, but later in 2019, more cheating allegations came out detailing how he had been cheating on Khloe again, this time with their longtime family friend Jordan Woods. This ended them for good, or so we thought. Now in 2021, people are still talking about them, and honestly I don't know what's going on with them anymore. Before we carry on talking about some of the worst celebrity couples and what went wrong, why not leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Mariah Carey and Tommy Mottola. In September 2020, singer Mariah Carey revealed in her memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, that she had once been unfaithful to her first husband. In her book, Mariah wrote about how during her first marriage to music executive Tommy Mottola, she cheated on him with baseball star Derek Jeter. Mariah talked about how she felt trapped in her marriage because of the age difference and because her husband was controlling. Now, cheating isn't necessarily excusable, but after opening up about how Tommy treated her, you can kind of see why she wanted to escape and find someone new. Tommy's treatment of Mariah prompted her to seek out a temporary escape, and after meeting Derek at a dinner party in 1997, she bonded with him. Mariah also revealed that soon she and Derek started talking, leading to them to having a quote, warm, slow, intoxicating kiss on Derek's roof. End quote. The singer said that after that kiss they never went any further because she was still married, saying quote, neither of us wanted to cheapen our romance by cheating on my marriage. End quote. Both Mariah and Tommy were awful partners to each other. At number 7, Dominic West and Catherine Fitzgerald. In the fall of 2020, actor Dominic West shocked a lot of people, including his wife, when photos surfaced online of him looking to be getting pretty close with actress Lily James. The leaked images showed the actor ringless on an outing, getting cozy with his co-star in Rome. He was spotted kissing and caressing the actress, and there were sources claiming that he and Lily had shared a hotel room as well. When reports of this alleged affair came out, a source close to Dominic's wife, Catherine, said that she was quote, devastated and heartbroken, going on to say that she believed that she and her husband had a good marriage. Clearly, there was something wrong there. This scandal, however, took an interesting turn just days after the story first broke, as Dominic and his wife were spotted together kissing in front of paparazzi, and the couple even released a handwritten note to news outlets saying quote, our marriage is strong and we're very much still together, end quote.
Now, not only did Dominic cheat, but Catherine still took him back after all that. You cannot catch me forgiving someone like that, especially after it became public. Dominic was certainly an awful person for putting his wife through all of that. At number 6, Jesse Metcalfe and Cara Santana. In 2020, Desperate Housewives actor Jesse Metcalfe and actress Cara Santana called it quits after a 10-year-long relationship, and things were pretty messy. After announcing their breakup publicly in the days following, they were hit with a cheating scandal as cheating allegations came out after Jesse was seen with another woman just days before news broke of the couple's separation. On top of that, paparazzi images showed Jesse with a blonde woman who he appeared to have his arm around and kissing her cheek. Basically, he was caught red-handed. To make matters worse, the actor was allegedly seen with another woman whom he was getting close to. Everything happened so fast that Cara told sources that she felt totally blindsided by the whole affair and that she thought everything was fine between them. To make matters worse for Cara, she apparently didn't know that they were broken up until she saw it in the news. It's alleged that there was no face-to-face breakup and that she found out when the rest of the public did too. They were set to get married in the near future, so you know, technically she didn't marry this awful partner, but she almost did, and it would have been even worse to find out about all of this infidelity after tying the knot. At number 5, Kevin Hart and Aniko Hart. Kevin Hart had a lot of making up to do after his explosive cheating scandal made him look like an awful person. Kevin was caught cheating on his wife Aniko Parrish after someone came forward trying to extort the comedian for $10 million in exchange for not releasing footage which showed him being unfaithful to his wife. Since he had essentially been caught, he owned up to his actions and issued a public apology to Aniko on his Instagram where he said, quote, "I made a bad error in judgment and put myself in an environment where only bad things can happen, and they did. At the end of the day, I gotta do better, but I'm also not going to allow a person to have financial gain off my mistakes, and in this particular situation, that's what was attempted." End quote. Some people pointed out that his apology didn't really include much accountability for his actions, but it was enough to keep Kevin and Aniko together, even though the trust in their relationship was seriously broken. They welcomed their first child together shortly after the scandal happened, and they continued to support one another, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Aniko is with a pretty awful partner. At number 4, Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith. After finding herself in a bit of a summer scandal, Jada Pinkett Smith was the center of attention for a little while last year after her entanglement with singer August Alsina went public. Jada faced some backlash for her relationship with the singer for a few reasons, one of which obviously being her relationship with Will Smith. When news broke of Jada's relationship with August, people immediately thought that she had been cheating on Will and that this news was going to blow up in his face. Many fans sent their support to Will because it looked like he had been facing a huge cheating scandal, but after discussing it on their Facebook watch show, Red Table Talk, they revealed that the two of them had separated a few years ago and that they were more so in an open relationship. Regardless, people still believe that Jada was pretty awful because Will looked to be a little hurt by her entanglement with August. But what do you think? Was it considered cheating? And do you think Jada is an awful person for doing this? At number 3, Clark Gable. Old Hollywood has a whole lot of mystery and scandal hidden behind a bright, shiny Hollywood sign. There was some dark stuff that went down back then, and it's only now that people are actually talking about it. One scandal that people were fascinated with was about actor Clark Gable and his secret daughter. While starring in the 1935 film The Call of the Wind alongside actress Loretta Young, Clark was involved in an extramarital affair with his co-star, and their affair ended with them producing a daughter. Not only did he become an awful person for having an affair and bringing another life into the world through it, but they also set that kid up for a life full of drama because they tried to cover it all up. Because a scandal like this would have meant the end of their careers, they tried to cover it up, but obviously we still found out. Loretta tried to conceal her pregnancy as best she could, even coming up with an elaborate plan to go on holiday as soon as her bump became too difficult to hide. She ended up having the baby and gave her up for adoption. Despite their effort to cover it all up, they were eventually exposed because the baby, whom they named Judith, inherited Clark's signature ears. All of this just made Clark look pretty bad, and honestly I feel bad for his spouse, but then again, Clark had a history of cheating, so this wasn't the first time he was seen in a bad light. At number 2, Anne Hathaway. Now even though they didn't end up getting married, they were still pretty close to it, and it's probably for the best that things ended when they did, because Anne Hathaway nearly married a pretty horrible person. The actress was once in a 4-year relationship with Italian businessman Raffaello Fallori, and they were reportedly close to getting married. That is until things came crashing down when it was discovered that Raffaello was involved in money laundering. He was arrested in 2008, and as you can imagine, the relationship stopped right then and there, and it's a good thing that she didn't stick around. And finally, at number 1, Mario Lopez and Ali Laundrie. Turns out that perhaps Mario Lopez isn't as nice as we may have thought, because apparently he cheated on his soon-to-be wife Ali Laundrie just days before their wedding. Mario confessed to Howard Stern in 2011 that back in 2004 he had cheated on Ali during his bachelor party. That's a pretty awful thing to do. I mean, just days before tying the knot too. Understandably, their marriage didn't last long at all, and they got it annulled just 2 weeks after getting married. To make matters worse though, Mario wrote about the experience in his memoir where he revealed that he didn't even love Ali, saying, quote, "Lightning hit me with the truth. I wasn't in love, but I walked down the aisle anyway."